On this day I'm recording this video, the Goku Mini and the Super Saiyan 2/3 Goku banners are leaving. They have less than 24 hours, which means the festival is completely done. There is the after party banner with Trunks and Gohan, which will be included in this video, but now that the festival's pretty much said and done, I'm sure you're interested in knowing who's going to last the longest. I did this in the anniversary and my predictions weren't exactly on the ball because of obvious reasons. Using Super Vegeta would be #1 right now if it wasn't for the likes of Majin Buu Saga and buff cancel. But we saw how UG4 got countered, so that's tough. So I'm gonna try to get even more accurate with the predictions in this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree by the end. We're gonna start with the most likely to fall off at the start, and at the end will be the ones that will survive the longest. Let's get into this. Alright, first one here should be a no-brainer. I'm not gonna speak long on her, but we've got Videl. I don't know what they were doing here. I had so many complaints with her release alone. I feel like they did her dirty intentionally just to show that they don't know what they're doing. Or if not that, they just want to flex their power in the fact that they can annoy us. Because why would they restrict her? Of all people to restrict in the meta that we went through in the festival and pre-festival, they chose to restrict her. I don't understand the mentality behind that, and that alone puts her in a worse position, generally speaking. But of course, it's a girls tag character, so people won't use her as much, so most likely she's going to feel like she's fallen off. She's a 1% sparking as well, so that already puts her in a worse position. You'd have to have her higher stars, and that pretty much just sells her bad, you know? But the simple fact that she's restricted puts her in the worst position out of any character they released in the 2024 festival. You know, she's essentially the Broly this year. Not much more to say. First character I gotta get out there, Videl. They just did her wrong. Now next up here we got Mai, and I don't think Mai is actually a bad option. I simply think in the position that she is, she's not a first choice long term. If we look at the other reds that fit her position specifically, besides from Weapon Wielder, but we already know Diamond's going to get more Gokus. If they get a Fusion Warrior, the Fusion Warrior will probably have a weapon as well because Goku's going to be involved. There's no way he's not. You know what I'm saying? Even on the Weapon Wielder tag, she might not have a space. So the likeliness for her to have value in the future is just low. But on future, the main things I was thinking of is red, we have Corrupted Zamasu. We even have the red Zamasu with Endurance. People have been running them too. We also have Ultra Vegito Blue, who people just have a preference for because of his easy style of play. Not to say any of those guys are specifically better or worse than Mai right now, but this is about longevity. And I feel like because of those characters existing, they just might have more benefit in a scenario to run over Mai, you know? I've seen Mai do a lot of good things on the team. She's very good for the likes of Future. And again, I told you, Weapon Wielder, I don't think she's going to have longevity just because they'll get more characters down the line. And then Gals is like a very niche tag. Nobody's really maining that team, let's be honest. So the popularity factor is already down there. It's not that she can't be an asset to a team. It's simply because on the teams that she's on, she's not going to be seen as a first pick long term. Boy, God forbid they drop more reds that are future related. It just puts her deeper in the hole, you know. So that's why she's second in terms of falling off. If it hasn't happened already, it's gonna be in that order. That's what I think anyways. Next up, we got Perfect Form Cell and Final Form Freeze. I still don't know why they word it like this. It's actually frying me. Perfect Form and Final Form Cell and Freeze. Like, what the hell is that wording? Anyways, I think this unit has very many privileges, right? But I think the units above are just in a better position. This unit here, they have the privilege of being two elements, so blue and purple, and they're very good elements for the likes of Lineage of Evil. Blue and purple are very good elements. Blue, purple, and yellow are always good elements for Lineage of Evil. But even on Future, they can get some stock off of having Cell alone, they get the Future stock. But they can also be on GT. They have a lot of tags, so that keeps them alive in a lot of places. I think if they were a Legends Limited of some sort, you know, they would be a lot better just off that basis. But they are 1% sparking, so that puts them in a boat where, for one, it might be a bit more difficult to pull them, or nobody's going to chase them per se. You'd have to Z-power them intentionally and having them at 14 stars, but I feel like they're a bit gimmicky. I don't know if that's just me. Mainly, they're meant to use that, what is it? It's Awakened Arts, and you seal one of the guys, you know, but outside of that, they're pretty squishy, which is pretty unfortunate. And the blue side is getting melted right now with all these greens, so they're already kind of on their way out. But if you did want to use them, you can make use of them. I've seen a lot of people do that. I've seen people run them with Lineage of Evil, and Lineage of Evil has a bunch of Zenka buffs. Like I said, they got the privilege of being purple. They have chilled First Form Freezer, run them with Ultra Golden Freezer. You're doing a lot. Of course, you have to be worried of yellows, but I've seen somebody run that. I forgot broski's name, but you know who you are, bro. You be running Ultra Golden Freezer day in, day out, and it works. But that's a high star team, you know. An average team is not going to make use of this guy that much. You'd be sticking them on future to get your best odds. And even then, I wouldn't especially say they're a first round pick, especially with the likes of Ultra Goku Black getting a plat. You already have Vegito Blue. Even Rose, I think, would be a better option just off him having endurance. So I got to set these guys back a bit. 1% Sparking Syndrome, you can't really get past it. But I think they're better than the ones I've mentioned before. So yeah, not much to talk about, but the elements carry them big time more than anything else, and the gimmick of them sealing is very, very nice. Not a unit to completely sleep on, but not better long term in terms of everybody else that I've mentioned. Here we've got Tamagami number 3. Now I was thinking of putting this character one in front, so the person that's next, I was thinking of putting them after that, but I didn't. And the main thing is that they're purple. I feel like the yellows right now in the game and going forward for at least the next 4 months are going to be really, really good, even if they drop the most dominant red. If Ultra Goku Black, the plat, went to Ultra Vegito Blue, I'd have a different conversation here, because that means yellows would be more in a sticky situation, but that wasn't the case. So in this case, he does get value because he's able to work against the green, but then the yellows are still in the same position, so he's actually still maybe a defensive liability. On Diamond Team, he's very, very good, but a lot of people would be wary of running this guy if they don't have him high stars. I fought against a 14-star Tamagami 3, and that's crazy to fight against. But then any star lower than that, it's really like this guy can get melted. The combo breakage is good, the Dragon Ball stuff is good, and the switching out I like with the blue card. I really hate going against it. But then outside of that, it's like, you know, you have to really put them in the best situation. The only thing I'll put to the Tamagami 3's name is that Daima will get more buffs, but that could also push Tamagami 3 out, because there's also Tamagami 2 who's meant to be stronger than 3, and Tamagami 1 who's meant to be stronger than both. And remember, Tamagami 2 got super buffed. There's also going to be Do and Ku. There's a lot of things to come in Daima, and I think this guy could easily be pushed out, which is why he's not higher on the list, looking at longevity of him. He also is a 1% sparking, so again, 1% sparkings are just generally worse unless you get a super one like Red Pan, but that isn't the case here, so that's why I've got Tamagami number 3 here. Could it potentially been one above, but again, the future could tell. I could be wrong in this, but I'm going secure with the position. I've got Tamagami 3 here. Next up, we've got Goku Black Rose. I think a lot of people were very harsh on this guy, in fact. I really like the buff cancellation, the combo breakage, the tanking, and the endurance. I think that's enough to keep him relevant, especially because Future is clearly getting buffs at this point. Green Goku Black getting the plat, this gives this guy value because he's able to protect the green because of the purples that would attack. There's also Vegito Blue who's green, so this guy has value because of that. Pairs very well with the greens. You know, that's a perfect scenario for this guy. I think he's going to be good for at least the next 2 months. A lot of people shut him down at the beginning because of the buff Goku Black Rose, you know, and the agenda that was being pushed that this guy's horrible, but I don't think he is. He's meant to be built with the intention of just tanking. He's not meant to be offensive, you know, it's literally defense type. If you build him defensively, obviously he could have been way better, and I'm not saying he's great, but I think he's gonna do better than people painted him out to be at the start, you know, because of his survivability alone. So I give Goku Black Rose that, you know, I think that's enough, especially being a Legends Limited, being on a good team, and that team's most likely going to get way more buffs this year with the amount of God Key we've already got. I think Rose has good potential going down the line and shouldn't be slept on. Buff cancellation is a big deal, and because Future has that, this guy could actually be a big help to the team. So I'm going to give him the props of putting him on the team. The only thing I really don't like, my biggest gripe, is that I know he doesn't have Blast Armor pre-transform, so I'm able to just take advantage of that and use Blast Arts against him. But post-transform, he's a way more solid unit, and if you build him correctly, he can do the same job that a lot of other characters do, but better because he's newer, and that should just be the case while having a very safe element, yellow. I feel like if he was any other element, it'd actually be way worse for him, genuinely. So yeah, Rose, I think he's a lot better than people give on, and he's going to have a lot more life. If people do have him, they will see good work with him, but I could easily see Tamagami being in front of this guy. It just depends on how the future unfolds. Daima's 100% getting buffed down the line, but future seems like they're not done and they're going to be getting buffed this year. They started off the year really strong, so hey man, let's see how that goes. Now, under any other circumstance, I wouldn't put this 18 up there, but I feel like this 18 is going to make a comeback to support the likes of Android's future and powerful opponents. I easily see that being the case. Now, this is on the concept that MVP 17 gets a plat or they drop a 17 in golden freezer. If any of those two things happen in 2025, then I feel it's very likely that this babe here, Bay-teen, so people calling it a goon teen, which is crazy work, is actually going to last longer than Rose and have more value on her team, especially because it's less likely that you're able to get replaced. But just on top of that, she could also be used on future. Then even if you wanted to lead a slot, you know, a future unit, then make the base Android and then have 17 on the team, it could actually work, you know. I feel like this unit here is actually a lot better than people give on. There's just not a good foundation enough for her to operate. On future, she doesn't have a place to shine, but Androids would really be the place where she would stick out a lot more, or even powerful opponent, just depending on how the future goes. I think she's solid. It could be a very hot take that she's actually going to be quote unquote have more longevity than Rose, but I think this line here nullifies restore health when it reaches 0 in character attacks if being run with an MVP's Android 17. Given that this condition is met, she's going to have a lot of meta value, and especially with the way they've been dropping units in 2024, 2025 units are only going to have more life on them to a degree, or have survivability of that term, especially going down the line. I already see that being the case. So I see this girl having more value than Rose because of that alone, but it's on the gamble that they do give MVP 17 a plat, Zenkai potentially, or they drop a new 17 of some sort, which I think would be something with Golden Freeze as a Legends Limited. I think that's a very foreseeable thing in the future, but if they don't do that, then of course move this babe one back. You know, Super 17 not getting a plat, get your ass back to 1945, we taking you out. You know, Super 17 not getting a plat, I know that, even my abuela know that, you know. So yeah, it's a gamble here, but you gotta hear what I'm saying. I could be easily wrong, but that's my prediction. We got Trunks and Gohan. Gohan and Trunks, they have the privilege of being a succession unit, for some reason just avoiding the idea of revival, but I guess that gives them an extra nice little potential for survival. They don't feel debuffed from anybody that has like anti-revival in their kit. Ultra G4, if yellows get out of the way, he's making a return, especially with the fusion word from Diamond coming out. So I feel like this unit is generally safe, but it's one of those units you have to invest in. I feel like if people do have the stars in this unit, that succession, basically revival, second life mechanic keeps them nice. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on them right now, but it's one of those units you'd have to invest into. And if they do make a return, which they probably will, considering they're the first unit to drop right now in the year of 2025, they're probably going to come back early anniversary. They will probably get a lot more life based on what future drops we see this year, and the game promotes survivability. It comes to like a high attack type of gameplay, then it comes back around to survivability. So I think it's very foreseeable that Trunks and Gohan really have that survivability factor long term. They have that longevity in the game. I don't think they're that amazing though, to say the least. I just really feel like they're gonna have the benefit of being a nice team, on a nice team, and on top of being on a nice team, not just future, they are also a hybrid Saiyan. They're also Son family and Vegeta clan, so they can just be plastered everywhere while covering 2 elements pre-transform, which I think is a nice touch. The privilege of 2 elements is always nice, and the privilege of Zenkai boss while having so many tags under your belt just keeps you spread all over the place, depending on what people want to use. And I think that's enough to have them over the people behind. But the survivability thing is their biggest factor in my opinion. This one might be the hottest take out of everything I've put on this list. I could easily move them back maybe 1 or 2. But I think here they're safe. But maybe it might be a tiny bit of recency bias. But the ones after this I'm very secure on. This is probably my most insecure position out of everybody on this list. Alright, so we got Super Saiyan 2 / Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I feel like if you want reliable long combos, this guy comes out to play. He just comes out to play. I think that's a very big factor for teams going forward, considering we're going to get more diamond units and they're going to be Sun family. We're going to get Sun family units generally. They're just very popular, if not throughout this period until the anniversary. In the anniversary, which will give this guy more value. Element gives him couple Zenkai buffers. He can mix with other elements. For example, right now, a very popular element, yellow. It would make a lot of sense. So he's just able to have good value. He nullifies endurance a lot, you know, effects when he enters the battlefield. So that's going to happen a lot, and it gives him a lot of life just off that alone, off strikes and blasts. It puts him in a position better than most people, which, you know, just makes a lot of sense. He doesn't have survivability himself, but he does cancel buffs, which is nice. So he's a good asset to the team, not just for combo potential, but in keeping the team alive. And I think his element is safe. Unless yellows get out the way, purples are not going to be strong, and that makes this guy look good. They're going to have to drop a very insane purple between now and the anniversary to kill off this guy's life. People will still keep bringing him, using him as a safe option, and I think that's why he's going to have a lot more longevity than everybody I've mentioned before. He's just a safe pick. He's not doing anything too crazy, but he's doing his job efficiently, and I think that's what's going to give him the most life, while also supporting the team and being a Sun family member, and a good one at that. Boy, I don't have this guy, but I see how this guy runs. I see it. That team that he was on with the infinite combos should speak for itself as well. Very solid contender here for one of the longest standing units. But I don't know. He's not as much as the ones I'm going to mention after. There's only a few left anyways. We've got Daimaku here. Now, I think this guy's long-standing value right now, not to downplay him, but if there wasn't strong yellows, he wouldn't have the stock that he has. And there is two strong yellows, two very strong yellows, Ultra Majin Vegeta and Beast Gohan. Because those two exist, this guy's able to thrive. Now, take out those yellows, would people be running this guy? I don't really think so. He is, in my opinion, one of the most fun units in the game, but I think his value lies in the fact that we need a savior, and he's one of the best choices. If not him, obviously not a festival unit, we have Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Either or get a similar job done in the exact same way, which is why people use both of those guys right now. This guy is high on the list though, because Daima is going to get more buffs, but we don't know what elements those guys are going to be. If they drop another Daima unit that's red, this guy could easily get pushed out, or you'll be running double red depending on how the teams are looking. Most likely, they're not going to drop another red Legends Limited from Daima. I don't even know if they're going to drop a Daima Ultra, but I think this guy is in a pretty good spot for meta value to counter the yellows. But on top of that, he also has good tags, being Sun family, new weapon wielder, so they're going to get a lot more tags going forward. Just looking longevity wise, he's in a good position overall. He has so many reasons why people use him, and at a high standpoint for a long period of time. New Daima Fusion Warrior drops, he's Daima, fits with this guy. Sun family unit drops, fits with this guy. Goku, Saiyans, fits with this guy. Saiyans are going to be very popular going forward. They have been for the longest while right now, so it just makes a lot of sense. And if there's continuously dropping more yellows while these yellows don't die, hey, Daima Goku, he's a safe bet to run. And I think that's what gives him a lot of value. Now, I've got Beast Gohan here, and I've spoke about the topic of... This guy's second, by the way, second last to fall off. I spoke about the topic of high damage units always having the potential to just fall off. But because he's a Sun family unit, and not one that relies on his defenses necessarily, you know, he has a one-shot mechanic that's pretty good. Pretty good. And I think it's going to be good as long as you use it effectively. So I find in cases where you don't drop combo, he doesn't catch a body. But if you do drop combo, he's going to catch a body. As long as you're not using it where people are full health. Do a bit of damage, you're not completely just having him carry the whole game. He's going to have a lot of value long term and can easily get your body for free. Reminds me of the UVB tech with the main ability where you remove their vanish once they hit a strike and you switch out into UVB. This guy could easily have value because of that for a long time. It just depends on if they drop reds or not, because the way they like to counter ultras is crazy. Let's think about Ultra UI last year, and they dropped Super 17 down the line. The only thing Ultra UI can't really dodge is Blast Art, and Super 17 is the Blast Menace. Dictator from 1940s. You know who I'm talking about. So I can only imagine what they're going to do to Ultra Beast. But I don't know how they would go about it, because his special beam cannon is such a unique thing. They have to really tailor a unit to stop this guy. I could only see maybe Ultra Perfect Cell doing that, but that would still be insane if they go out their way to counter this guy. So I'm banking on the fact that they're not going to do something that counters him too harshly, and if they do counter him, he'll still have value in the game. But of course, from looking at the pattern recognition, this is also a risky gamble. Now, I don't have him at number 1, and that's simply because he isn't the tankiest. If you have him at 5 stars, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you have him at 8 stars, you'll still know what I'm talking about. I have him at 10 stars, and I have to build him tankily for him to do the job that I want him to do. He does have the key increase for a lot of people, so they can't, key cost increase, so they can't do amazingly long combos, and he does break combo halfway. He does also have the rush and the ultimate arts to protect him, the ultimate arts counter, and I think that's going to be a big playing part outside of his defenses. So unlike UI, you know, you can just rush him and get him out the way. This guy, you can't just rush him and get him out the way, even if his defenses are 0, which his defenses are knocked. So I'm gonna give him 2nd place because of the overall protection he has. The only way this is proven wrong is if the devs go out their way to harshly counter, similar to how I had my 6th anniversary fall off list. I had Fusing Super Vegito at, I believe, number 1 or 2, and because of all those buff cancellation units they decided to drop back to back to back, I never thought they would shut him down like that, but they did. They targeted him more than G4, whether you think about it or not. You know, it put him out the way earlier than people would think. So I can only imagine what they do to Beast Gohan to make it work, but I'm doing the same thing. You know, I'm keeping a logical point of view. Only if they go out their way to counter him harshly will this guy fall off faster than I expect him to. Right, so I have this guy at number 1, and I already see the comments, people saying I'm glazing, da 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 da. But if you really process it, the devs have been consistently dropping counter gauge units, and in their biggest year, the 7th anniversary, where we all know they're gonna drop an Ultra MUI, do you think this guy is not gonna have value? Let's sit and think about this. Let's sit and think about this. Can you call me a glazer in this case when you know that the odds of them dropping an Ultra MUI is like 95%? He's gonna have the dodge mechanic. Vegito here. Will he have value? Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. Now, the biggest way I've seen to counter this guy is because of Ultra Beats Gohan with the key increase. I've seen that. And I'm not going to deny that. That is a big playing card to make this guy less valuable. But you have to also consider what's going to drop into aiding him and not going to drop to counter him. Now, I will say this guy is a big aid to the meta. So will they get him out the way? I think that would be a bad decision, especially because he's not that oppressive in the first place. I just think his longevity is high because he's useful on almost every team he can fit on. They're going to drop a Fusion Warrior from Daima. There's no way they're not. I'll be shocked if they don't. If not a protagonist and antagonist one, Do and Ku. If it's a protagonist one, who knows? A new Vegito, probably not a Gogeta or a new thing completely. This guy will get value because of that. If you think they're not going to drop a Vegito in 2025 in their supposedly biggest year, where they're doing this big, they're saying it's going to be their 7th year, they take this year very seriously. Come on, dog. Vegito is going to make a comeback. This green one, he's going to make a comeback, and he's going to have relevance because of that. So just off me saying all of those things, this guy will exist throughout the whole year unless the devs, again, similar to Beast Gohan, go out their way to counter him. And I can't predict that, man. If the devs specifically do an absolute mission, they sign off the documents to say, yeah, we need to kill this guy. Fine. You had to force him out. But it's not going to be something natural where they drop just units to just add to the game, you know. They're making it a mission. They're going to do a Fusing Super Vegito. They're going to do a G4. If anybody's getting counted from the festival, it's going to be this guy and Beast. And those aren't things I can predict. But if we're looking at their kit with what they plan to drop in the future, Vegito Blue probably has the most reason to be run down the line, even outside of power creep because of MUI, very likely going to drop. And then if not that, the Fusion Warriors that will drop in 2025. I just feel like there's no way around it. There's no way around those things that are going to drop in 2025. And for that reason, I think he's going to have the most longevity this year out of all the festival units. Now, I'm not gonna lie, in comparison to the list that I made about fall-offs in the 6th anniversary, I am very shaky about this one, because the devs have shown they are willing to do anything to get people out the way. I think if the game goes as normal, they just drop good units and they don't target people, this list is pretty much 90% accurate. But the devs do things that are weird, man. They just do weird things. So I don't know if I'm going to be correct in this one. I easily see this aging terribly, or it could age perfectly, and probably no in between. But we will have to see. I easily see some of you guys already disagreeing with me in the comment section, so let me know. I'm open to the conversation. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.